Hi fourth graders, thought I'd bring an extra helper today. This is Martha. She's quite a mathematician, right girl? Okay, oh look, she's drawing our attention to Mr. Chompers. Do you see that today's lesson is on comparing decimals? And if you can remember, I've used Mr. Chompers before when we've talked about eating the greater one, and that's really what today's lesson is about. I tried to draw a better alligator than I have in the past. All right, Martha, you ready to go help? No? Okay, she really wants to stay for the lesson. Okay, here we go. So, I'm gonna go ahead and erase Mr. Chompers. Maybe I'll hand my chicken to my assistant. It's a little tricky to actually have to erase. Oh, hold on, Martha. Oh, goodness, girl. All right, so today's lesson, since you know about decimals, you know that they come in different sizes, just like all numbers do. Fractions, same thing. So just to remind you again, the decimal point divides between the world of whole number and partial number, or fractions in this case. Fourth grade book, it teaches you the power, or they call this the tenths again, just as a reminder, and this is the hundredths. And when I was looking at your work this morning, I see that you guys really get the difference between these, and the models too are being used. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we compare numbers today. It's easy when you go to the whole numbers, and if I were to give you a scenario about Mr. Chompers, and if we were looking at basic whole numbers, let's just say the number 23 and the number 47. Okay, it's pretty easy, right? If I were to say to you, which one would Mr. Chompers eat? By far, he'd want 47 of something versus 23 of something. And you're probably saying, oh, he'd eat both. No, in math, we're looking at comparative numbers. So again, this is our inequality, in other words. So we have the terms greater than, less than, or equal to. I guess it depends on how it's used in there. Those are kind of the things we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to give you three numbers, the first three numbers, and we're going to put them in numerical order. So the first number is 0.67. The second number that I'm going to give you is 0.66. And the third number I'm going to give you is 0.7. Okay. And just as review from yesterday, this would be said 67 hundredths. This is 66 hundredths, and this is 7 tenths. Okay, so you're now thinking, which one of these, if I were to ask you to place these from greatest to least, so the rule in this one would be greatest to least, how would they be listed? Well, I'm going to give you a hint on how to do this. So you probably think, oh, I know, 67 is bigger than 66. And there's another name for this one too, right? 0.7, if you added, almost lost my pen. If you added a 0 to the end of it, that would read 70 hundredths. And in your mind, you already know that 70 is bigger than both 67 and 66, and you could totally place it there. We have chickens in the background.
You sure do.
And they're having a little yard time right now. Hey, oops, you mean to erase that. So we have these three numbers again. I'm going to show you how you should compare decimals, and it's going to get harder than this. So you're going to get a comparison chart like this. Okay, you can make one yourself. And they're going to say decimal point here. So this will be reserved on this side for whole numbers, because you might get some whole numbers on this side. You've got decimals over here. Okay. So if we were to place these in order, you could see, okay, right away, all of them have no whole numbers, so you put 0 there. And I've talked to you guys, some of you, about your 0 placeholders. It's just a fussy little element that when you're first beginning decimals, it just signifies that there's no whole number there. Eventually, you won't be able to have to use them. But so let's place the first one here. We have 67, 66, and 70, or 7. So whenever you have a decimal that just has one digit, you can just add a 0 to it, like this. Doesn't change the value. That's the beauty of zeros. It just said sometimes how it changes it the way it said. So if we're doing from greatest to least, if we're ordering our numbers, you first start like alphabetizing something. You first start in the tenths column here. And you go, okay, well, which one of these has the largest? Right away, you see that 7 is the largest. So we know that 70 should be placed first in our order. So I'm going to erase this and put up 70. Okay. The next one, since these two have 6s actually in the tens column, you have to move over to, just like alphabetizing something, the second digit. In this case, it's in the hundreds place, and you can very easily compare 7 and 6 and go, oh, I know, 0. Oops, I'm just going to change this right here. 0.67 is in the middle, and the last digit from least, so from greatest to least, and you got to be careful when you read that. That's how they'll trick you up sometimes. The last one here is 66. So from greatest to least, that's how those numbers would be organized. This is always a nice little tool if you wanted to help you organize. So that's one of them. Okay. If I were to throw out another couple of examples for you, I'm going to draw this board again because it's super handy. And I don't know if the book has an example of this or not. Oops. They're going to label it like this. Looks like my marker's kind of dying. They'll put the decimal here, and they'll call this the decimal place. They'll say ones over here. If they were doing more, they would probably put a line here and do tens or hundreds, and then they'll divide it up like this a couple of times. I don't think you're going to go over here, but I could be wrong. So they label this as tenths and this as hundreds. Oops, left my space. So let's do some comparing. I'm going to give you 3 more numbers. Okay, where am I going to put those? I'll just put them right here. So the first number that I'm going to give you is 0.11. So if you're thinking about that, note that there's 1/10 and 1/100th. We would say 11 hundredths in this case. The next one I'm going to give you is 0.09. Okay, remember the rule. And the last one I'm going to give you is 0.10. So first, let me change colors. See if I got my blue out. Hold on a sec. Oh, hi, girl. Are you learning math? These are going to be the smartest chickens ever. Once we had, we gave some eggs to the school, my high school, and they hatched a bunch of them in an incubator. And for some reason, we got them back, and one of the chickens we named Brainy because he was at school during his incubation time, and he was actually a very smart rooster. He's kind of a naughty rooster too, but I don't know what happened to Brainy. I can't remember. Must have not been that smart. Probably some coyote or some fox came and got him during the day. So I've got my blue marker, and I want to remind you again, this is where we start. So if we look at the ones place, there's nothing there. If there was some digit here in the ones place, we automatically know that's going to be the greatest number. So we go to the tens place, just like alphabetizing, and we check. Okay, we see right away that there's a 0 here. That means there's less value in this one than these two. So now we have to be a little bit more discerning. Now we go to the hundredths place. So we have to compare these two through the hundredths place. So 11 is greater than 10. And finally, we get then to our 900ths. So if we were to order these, let's see what do the directions say. It doesn't say. We'll just say greatest to least again. So if I were to rewrite these greatest to least, and I was doing this at the bottom, let me erase that little thing. The greatest number in this case is 0.11. Second number, 0.10, or 10th, or they call it 10 hundredths, or you could say 1/10, same thing. And last one here, of course, 0.09, or 9 hundredths. That's greatest to least. Be careful, watch those. Okay. You're also going to see Mr. Chomper's ground today, and that's what we call the inequality. It's just kind of fun. So number 1 on our quick check, or our guided practice says, here's the directions. In 1 through 4, write greater than, this is greater than, less than, or equal to for these fractions. So the first one they throw out, 0.7. There's this spot for the inequality in the middle, 0.57. Oh, does this take too much work? No, this is going to be pretty easy. Right away, you're going to look at the first digit you come to. Notice that the ones place, it doesn't have anything. Very easily, you can see 7 is greater than 5. So this is 57 hundredths of something, and this is actually 70 hundredths of something if you were to be able to convert those in your head real easy. Pretty easy, right? Let's do number 2. Number 2 is 0.23, spot for the inequality. And I'd like for you to give me some what I call context in your homework. So you actually write these out so I can tell. It's easier for me if I have context. Okay? Now point 32. For dyslexic people like me, you're gonna go, oh, those are equal, right? No, they have the same digits, but not in the same order. So be careful. You'll notice here we have a 2 in the tens place, and over here we have a 3 in the tens place. Automatically you know which one's bigger, right? Technically, yeah. So this would read 23 hundredths is less than 32 hundredths. That's how you'd read one of those. Kind of cool, right? I got a tricky one for you. Actually, there's 2 really good ones. I gotta do them. Number 3 is a really cool one. We're gonna introduce something new. You probably saw it already. You see it? That's right. There's a whole number. Ah! What does that do? These are actually really close numbers, believe it or not, if you were to draw a model, because the model here would be one whole square filled up, and believe it or not, you'd have another square that was divided like into that hundredths. Remember how we were doing that? And then you had a tiny one filled out. So this is 1 and 1/100th, and this is 98 hundredths. So really in this one in the model, it's just one box, and it's filled all the way to here with 2 remaining. So you can kind of get very close, but which one's bigger? Yep, Mr. Chompers always eats the bigger one because it has a 1 and the 1's digit. Last one, number 4. And I just wanted to walk you through this one because you might see something like this. Number 4 says 0.2 and 0.20. What did you say? Something looks very familiar, right? Well, if we go here, we can obviously, in the ones place, there's nothing. Then we go to the second digit over, which is in the tens place. Both of them have a 2 in the tens place. So this is our problem. Are they the same? Or is 20 bigger than 2? Be careful. This one technically is 2 tenths. If you used one of those models, this would be the 10 block. Mine's not obviously out of 10. You'd have 2 of these bars filled up. Over here, if you'd have to use the hundredths grid because that 0 is in the hundredths place. And you know this one, where it's divided into 100 pieces. This one is 20 of them. Oh, same amount, just different. So these you'd call it the equal sign. So you'd read it like this: 2 tenths is equal to 2 tenths is equal to 20 hundredths. That's it. That's the lesson today. Have fun. It's super fun. It's super easy. Bye guys. How's our chickies? Oh, where are our chickies? Chickies?
They're having fun by the garden bed.
I guess they got tired.
Hello. Goodbye.